Not aluminum. Not really carbon fiber. The hell is this?
It's Fusion-Fiber. It's made with nylon composites.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me, boy! Ladies and gentlemen, right here we have a bicycle industry innovation, which I love seeing this stuff, and I really think this one is pretty intriguing. So, Revel bikes, yes, the bike brand that launched just last March of 2019. We've made a bunch of videos on them and their bikes, so go check that out if you haven't already. They are introducing a set of rims. So these are the RW30s, and this is a very strange rim. It is not alloy, and it's kind of carbon. So carbon traditionally is made with an epoxy. Epoxy is what's makes it nearly impossible to recycle and also extremely detrimental to the environment in terms of the manufacturing process. This is made with layers of carbon, but then some type of fancy nylon that bonds the whole thing together. So it's a totally different manufacturing process. It's actually laid up by robots rather than humans to cut down on inconsistency and things like that.
Attention everyone, run for your lives! Robots have taken over the world!
Made in the US, and it's 100% recyclable. Super interesting stuff. It's made in an aerospace facility. So it's a totally new take on what a quote-unquote carbon rim can be. Why that matters, I think it's really cool to see this happen. Carbon is just really not good for the environment in general, and the bike industry eats a lot of it. So it's really cool to see innovation that's going this direction. This could potentially be in a lot more wheels in the future on other brands, and a lot of maybe frames in the future.
If you want, it's up to you.
Brake levers, cranks, who knows? It's kind of a first of its kind, and it's really fascinating. So the guys at Revel have been working on this a really long time, and basically this material is stronger per weight than traditional carbon fiber rims. So they can make a 30 mil internal width rim that is extremely strong and robust, and actually has a very different feel. It's not like a pingy hollow sort of sound like a traditional carbon is, but it's a little bit more supple and sort of dead sounding, which is pretty cool, but it still is really nice and stiff and has that good carbon stiffness to it. So fascinating stuff, 100% recyclable, made in the US by robots in an aerospace facility. Fascinating, just interesting take on what they're doing, and yeah, super impressed. So let's dive into some of the specs, and then a little bit later we'll get into the on-trail feeling. These fancy new rims are sold as rim-only or complete wheels in 27.5 and 29. A single rim will run $700. The 27.5 weighs in at 440 grams and the 29 at 470 grams. If you're wondering how that stacks up to some of the most popular carbon mountain bike wheels on the market now, you can see Envy M730 coming in at 1,049 per rim and a bit heavier there. Zip 30 Moto, same price per rim at $700, and once again heavier. Santa Cruz Reserve Carbon at $599 and still a touch heavier, and the We Are Ones at $450 and still a bit heavier as well. The Revel RW30 complete wheel sets are offered with Industry 9 1/1 hubs or i9's flagship Hydra hubs. The 1/1 complete wheels come in at $1,975, and with Hydra hubs they're at $2,200. And of course, these things have a lifetime warranty and a crash replacement policy. If you do manage to break one, it'll actually be recycled rather than going into a landfill like a traditional carbon rim. More on the rim strength later in the video. By the way, all these specs and way more information on the unique material and manufacturing process can be found at the link below in the video description to our blog article. Well, I've got a couple hours on these things thus far, so this is a bit more of a first impressions than rather a full review on these rims, but that will certainly be coming later, and in that video we're going to do a whole bunch of strength testing against competing carbon rims as well. Right off the bat, when I threw these things on the Rascal right behind me, got out there and rode a bunch of my local trails that I'm super familiar with, they definitely have a unique, dead, sort of like dampened, like subtle sound to them. They don't sound at all like a traditional carbon rim by any means. Probably a little closer, like I would say they feel the closest, sound the most like a Zip 30 Moto rim. They're not quite as compliant as that, but they're also not quite as stiff as something like an NV or an E13 rim would be. They're somewhere in the middle, but they've got a really nice sound to them, which is actually pretty cool and sort of a unique thing to these wheels. I'm always kind of paying attention to that because I like my bikes super quiet, especially blasting through rock gardens, so I'm always paying attention to the sound. When I did ride them, I also ran the pressure fairly low, a couple runs, and purposely smashed them into some rocks, and again, it does keep the noise pretty down there. So it was interesting. They still have a nice, stiff, very energetic, pretty familiar carbon feel to them, but again, I think the sound is what's most unique about them. So that's my first impressions on the trail. It was pretty awesome, and now another person whose opinion I really respect because he's ridden an insane amount of different wheel sets, especially carbon, is our head mechanic Liam Woods. So here's him on the trail with his first impressions now.
All right, what's up guys? My name's Liam, and today we're out here testing the Revel RW30 wheels. These wheels are new from Revel, and as Jeff said, his ride impressions, mine are pretty similar as well. They definitely ride like carbon wheels. They're stiff, they track well, everything you'd expect from a stiff carbon wheel. However, when you start smashing rocks, they behave differently. They're definitely quieter, and they kind of have a damped feel to them compared to other carbon wheels. When you smash normal carbon rims, they kind of have that loud ping and definitely makes you cringe, smashing expensive wheels like that. But the Revel wheels, because of the nylon in them, it's much quieter, much more damped feeling. When you hit rocks, it's even quiet, you don't even really hear them. And overall, the bike is just quiet as a whole. They don't really ping and make weird noises. So it's definitely cool to see, but they ride like carbon wheels, and that's something you'd expect and want when buying carbon wheels. As I only have about 3 rides on them, it's not a full in-depth review, it's just first impressions, but first impressions are great. I'm excited to get more time on these. The stiffness of carbon wheels is great, but the quiet features about them, and also just the material and what they've been able to improve and bring in that innovation in the bike industry is awesome to see. So we're stoked to see this from Revel, and hopefully Revel comes out with more parts, even if it takes over more brands in the bike industry. It's definitely heading in the right direction, and it's cool stuff to see from Revel. So look out for a long-term review, and we'll be getting that going soon.
Let us know down in the comments what you guys think of these. I am stoked to see innovation like this in the bicycle industry. I think this is something we really need. I think probably like the dirty little gross thing about the bike industry is that, yeah, it's cycling and it seems environmentally friendly, but the amount of carbon bikes and carbon rims and carbon parts we all consume and destroy that then get put in landfills kind of sucks. So it's great to see something like this start with rims. I'm really excited to see where this can go in the future. I'm stoked that Revel's doing this. We've gotten to know those guys super well over the last year or so, riding their bikes. We actually went out to their headquarters in Carbondale, Colorado, and talked to them a ton about all that sort of stuff. And I could tell from when we were out there the amount those guys, Adam Miller and Jeremiah Starkey, were just nerding out on carbon layups, all regarding their frame and how they're really just in tune with carbon layups and the stiffness and all of that. Those guys love that stuff. So when they told me that they were coming out with sort of an innovative carbon rim, it was like, that makes sense. You guys are way too into this carbon shenanigans. So yeah, really cool stuff. Let us know down in the comments what you guys think of all of this. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one.